The 4-hour workweek sounds like a slogan that's too good to be true, right? But that is exactly what Tim Ferriss defends in his bestseller. Imagine, instead of working 40 or 50 hours per week, you only work 4 actual hours while earning more than enough to live, travel, and dive into 1,000 projects. A dream? Perhaps, but Tim Ferriss assures us it's achievable. Hello everyone, and welcome to this complete summary of the 4-hour workweek by Tim Ferriss. Over the next 25 to 30 minutes, I'll guide you through a 4-step system, DEAL, that can transform an overloaded, stressful life into one that's freer, more fulfilling, and more exciting. Forget retiring at 65. Forget the idea that you need to become a millionaire to live like one. What if you could live the life you dream of, traveling, learning, enjoying your passions? Starting right now, that is Tim Ferriss's mantra: fewer hours, more free time, and automated income. In this overview, we'll cover the philosophy of the new rich versus the deferrers, those who wait until retirement, the deal formula, define, eliminate, automate, liberate, anecdotes, how Tim Ferriss nearly burned out before discovering this lifestyle, how he ran Brain Quicken on autopilot, etc. Concrete examples: ignoring useless info, delegating to virtual assistants, creating a lucrative muse without chaining yourself to it, negotiating a fully remote job, and finally, the famous mini retirements, meaning multiple extended stays around the world rather than saving all your rest years for the end of life. Of course, the book is not without limitations or controversy. Not everyone can reduce their work time to 4 hours overnight. Not everyone has the same financial situation or risk tolerance. Yet Ferriss emphasizes that it's not luck or inheritance, but strategy and priorities. He believes most people are stuck in routine because they don't realize there are other ways to live. Let's gather some courage and dive into the 4-hour workweek. Chapter 1. The new paradigm, from deferring to the new rich. Before explaining his method, Tim Ferriss describes his own burnout from overwork. Around 2004, he was overloaded and exhausted, running his small company with what looked like success, yet he worked 80 hours a week. One day, he dropped everything and took a break. While traveling the world, he had a revelation. You don't need millions in the bank to live like a millionaire. What matters is more freedom and more free time. Deferrers versus new rich. Ferriss distinguishes two main life approaches. The deferrers follow the routine, work 30 or 40 years, then retire. Believe they must sacrifice their youth and accumulate wealth before they can really start living. Are usually swamped, stressed, and have little time to travel or be with family. The new rich reject the idea of waiting until old age to enjoy life. Alternate work periods with mini retirements throughout their lives. Prioritize freedom and time control over simply amassing money. According to Ferriss, you don't need to be a millionaire to truly travel, skydive, spend months with family, or embark on an artistic project. You only need enough right now to support that lifestyle, and you don't need 40 hours or even 8 hours per day to do so. His system is called DEAL. Chapter 2. D for define. Dreams, fears, priorities. The first pillar is redefine wealth. Being rich is not about having as many zeros in your bank account as possible. It's about being free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, wherever you want. Redefine happiness. Ferriss says many people confuse happiness with the absence of problems. True motivation, he explains, is excitement, the feeling of waking up in the morning ready for intense, stimulating, worthwhile experiences. People say they want $1 million, but they only think that will give them freedom to do X, Y, or Z. What matters is the freedom itself, not the million. Tim Ferriss. Definition. Exercise. Ferriss suggests this. Imagine you could stop working next week without losing your salary. What would you do? What experiences do you want? What lifelong dreams do you have? Write them down, even if they seem unrealistic. Then give those dreams deadlines. For instance, within 6 months you want to have a camper trip, a piano, a painting studio, be a regional dance champion, multilingual, spend 1 month on a Thai island, launch an e-commerce site. Fear setting, facing your fears. To overcome fears, Ferriss recommends fear setting. List the worst case scenario if you go for it. Estimate how likely it is realistically. Plan how you'd fix or recover if it happened. Write down what you lose by doing nothing. Often you realize you could bounce back from failure, whereas spending another 10 unsatisfying years is a much higher price to pay. Example, Ferriss didn't have huge savings when he dropped everything to travel. If he failed, he'd return, find a new job, or start another business. He considered it less painful to risk that than to continue a stressful life without any vacation. Chapter 3. E4. Eliminate, focus, and save time. The second step is eliminate everything that consumes time but yields no real results. Ferriss uses two principles. Pareto's principle, 80-20. 80% of your outcomes come from 20% of your effort. Meanwhile, 80% of your headaches, distractions, or interruptions come from 20% of your tasks or clients. Identify which 20% of tasks produce 80% of results and double down on those. Pinpoint the 20% that cause most of your problems. Eliminate or delegate them. Parkinson's law. The more time you allow yourself to complete something, the more that task expands. Use tight deadlines. Instead of 2 days to write a report, give yourself 4 hours and cut off email, social media, etc. Under pressure, you head straight for the essentials. Practical steps. Reduce interruptions. Check email only twice a day. For example, noon and 4 p.m. use an autoresponder or delegate email management to an assistant. Minimize meetings if possible. If unavoidable, keep them short with a clear agenda. Cut useless info. Stop continuously consuming unhelpful news. Ferriss says that if something's truly important, someone will tell him about it. Batching. Bundle similar tasks together. For instance, handle invoices, paperwork, or phone calls in one weekly block. This saves time lost to context switching. By implementing these strategies, you free up dozens of hours each week to focus on what matters, your 20% most critical tasks or personal, family, or creative pursuits. Chapter 4. Automate. Build a business without working in it. Great, you freed up many hours, but to truly live freely, travel, or work only 4 hours a week, you need to separate your income from your time. That's the third step. Automate. A. Be an owner, not a manager. Ferriss refers to a muse, a small, self-sustaining business that generates revenue without needing you constantly. Not a giant startup you sell for millions, but an autopilot venture. You spend just a few hours per week on it. Processes are delegated or outsourced. A product or service that's relatively simple. B. Find your muse. Several possibilities: resell an existing product, lower margins but faster to start. Acquire a license for a product, legally more complex. Create your own product or an info product. Ferriss says info products, books, online courses, etc. often work best, thanks to high margins and no need for physical inventory. Examples: Ferriss sold Workweek and dietary supplements outsourced to a lab. Sherwood, a fictional character, sells Navy-style shirts on eBay with no stock, thanks to deals with a supplier. Johanna, a yoga teacher, markets a yoga for climbers DVD, tested and launched after a small marketing trial. C. Test before you build. Create a test sales page or eBay listing. When people click buy, they see out of stock or coming soon. That shows you how many were ready to pay, the real demand. Spend a small budget on ads like Google Ads to target specific audiences. Check click rates and how many go to checkout. If results are poor, adjust your angle or text and retest until you find a profitable setup. D. Design the automation. Once you've proven your muse, a fulfillment company handles shipping, returns, and inventory. A call center or FAQ addresses customer inquiries, or hire a virtual assistant. Delegate as much as possible. The less you're involved, the better. Give clear rules. If a problem costs less than X dollars to fix, do it without asking me. Ferriss himself once said with Workweek, if it costs under $100 to fix the problem, do it without contacting me. Sure, it might cost him $200 more per month, but he gained back 100 hours of time and protected his mental health. Chapter 5. L for liberate. Take back your time and travel. Last step, liberate. A. Leave the job or massively reduce office time. If you're an employee, negotiate remote work in steps. Show you're more productive at home. Suggest a trial of 2 days a week for 2 weeks. Prove higher output, then bargain for more remote days. Or quit if that's impossible, especially if your muse is already running. If you're a traditional entrepreneur, consider handing over the keys. Appoint a manager, delegate everything non-essential. Ferriss says either you run your company or you grow it enough to run without you. You don't want to just swap bosses, you want freedom. B. Mini retirements. The book's most striking idea. Instead of waiting until retirement to finally travel, regularly give yourself mini retirements of 1 to 6 months. Ferriss explains this can be cheaper than living in a Western metropolis. Examples: rent an apartment in Buenos Aires for 2 months, learn tango, improve your Spanish, all without draining your bank account. Live in Bali for 3 months, working only 4 hours a week to supervise your muse. Don't try to see or do everything while you're there. Learn the language, make friends, enjoy the experience. Ferriss. To ease the fear of leaving it all, Ferriss proposes: organize, cancel subscriptions, set up insurance, etc. Before you go, pick a country, have an emergency fund. Upon arrival, if you have kids, enroll them or consider homeschooling. Keep your weekly 4 hours of muse management by logging on in a local internet cafe. See how to fill all that free time. Ferriss admits you might think, now what, after the initial euphoria? Not working constantly is a relief, but it might feel empty without projects. Learn languages, sports, contribute, volunteer, join organizations, champion causes that matter to you. Start additional mini projects, travel blogging, a documentary, a book. Stay curious, explore, and reconnect with the people around you. Conclusion. Final summary. We've now explored Tim Ferriss's approach in the 4-hour workweek. D. Define. Wealth equals more freedom, more time, more excitement. Set goals, list dreams, identify fears. E. Eliminate. 80-20 principle. Focus on what really matters. Parkinson's law, tighten deadlines, cut distractions, useless emails, and pointless meetings. A. Automate. Build a muse, autopilot business, physical or info product. Test before you invest in production. Delegate aggressively, virtual assistants, call centers, logistics. L. Liberate. Negotiate near total remote work or quit your job. Take mini retirements regularly, discover the world, live fully. Time is our most precious resource, Ferriss insists. Failing to reclaim it means missing out on life's biggest opportunity. 3 memorable anecdotes. Ferriss's own story. In 2004, he burned out, spent a month in Europe, then in Asia, managed everything remotely, and saw that his business ran better with minimal interference. A few caveats. Not everyone can go from 40 hours to 4 hours overnight. Family, legal, or medical obligations may exist. The book underestimates how complex delegating or automating certain tasks can be. Some criticize Ferriss for an allegedly selfish lifestyle. Quit, travel, let others work. He replies that if you pay your people fairly and treat them well, everyone wins. All in all, the 4-hour work week is not a ready-made, get-rich-by-doing-nothing blueprint. It's a mindset shift, a lifestyle that embraces more freedom, more exploration, and more contribution, with less pointless accumulation. So what next? Grab a sheet of paper and write 3 dreams you've been putting off for years. Ask yourself, what if I actually tried? How would I recover if it went wrong? Test an elimination experiment. For 1 week, check email only twice a day. See what happens. Consider a mini business or a mini break in 6 months on a continent that intrigues you. In short, take action. Thanks for reading this long overview of the 4-hour workweek. I hope it inspires you to begin, in your own way, an adventure with less overload, more freedom, and more fun. As Tim Ferriss says, the point isn't to reduce your workload just to do nothing, but to concentrate it so you can live more intensely. Ready to shake up your habits? Follow if you like our work and tell us in the comments which book you want us to summarize next.